So there is that toing and froing within ODM right now as far as Deputy President William Ruto is concerned. Some of them, blatantly defying the, of course, party's position, as we saw in that particular clip. And we want to introduce also a panelist who are here this morning, eagerly waiting for others to join us. That is Kimani Omatangi and also Jacob Medio. But we have with us this morning Dr. Otiende Amolo and also Dr. Esele Simiyu, Otiende Amolo from ODM and a member of parliament from Marieda. And of course, we have also Esele Simiyu, who is a member of parliament from Tongaren, and also he's the vice chair of the Secretary General of Ford Kenya, to also weigh in on this matters as far as politics is concerned. Let's just begin with you, Dr. Otiende. As far as politics is concerned and coastal region is concerned, we can see, yes, we have inroads of a deputy president trying to look at what Coast is doing and other regions of this country as far as strongholds of ODM or NASA, so to speak, is concerned. And yes, we have leaders there from the coast blatantly, as I've said, defying the party's position as far as the ODM is concerned, and Deputy President William Ruto. What is happening?
First, let me say good morning to Kenyans. And since we were here the last time, is when that mishap of the light aircraft happened.
Yes.
And it is turning out that it happened in very sad circumstances.
Yes.
That are actually attributable to negligence. And let me condole with the family, even as we hope that the investigators will get to the root of it. On the issue at hand, there are three things to be said. First, we have it on the authority of no less than the president, that the deputy president are a tanga-tanga. So those who choose to tanga-tanga with him, it is their choice. Because I am sure they were elected to focus, on the National Assembly and other related matters. And the supposition sometimes is, when I talk to some of my colleagues, then they say, you must sometimes go into such places because that's when you get goodies and all. And it defies, and that's my second point, it defies the role that we are given as the National Assembly. Because the ultimate role of budget making is now not with the executive, it is with parliament. And so as a member of parliament, I think it is self-contradictory to suppose that you need to gain favor with the executive in order to get the proper prioritization of budgets. I think that is completely wrong. But thirdly and lastly, is that I think 2022 is a distance away. Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga have chosen to go the path of bridging the gap,
yes.
To go the path of building consensus, yes, in this country. And I think those who are, instead of focusing on how to bring the country together, are focusing on who to win for 2022, are jumping the gun. And it is unfortunate, because when the time comes, yes, and when we now need and decide to start debating and opening the questions of who is to be president, then they will find, the rules are very different. For now, the other question which I've had one of my colleagues talk about is the question of being disciplined by the party.
Yes.
Now, I'm not in the disciplinary organ of the ODM, so I do not speak for them. I am not even aware whether there has been any concrete motion in that regard. All I know, and Dr. Simiyu is here as the Secretary General, he knows, and I'm sure he advocates the same, that once we introduced multi-party politics into the Constitution, and once we agreed to describe Kenya as a multi-party democracy, and once we agreed to use taxpayers' funds to even fund parties, there must be some level of party discipline. That party discipline is not to hold people in dictatorship, but it's to hold people that if you belong to a certain party, then there must be certain ethos. And the day you decide that you do not subscribe to them, yes, then you must have the liberty to move out and then say you want a fresh mandate on a different ticket. So I advocate for party discipline. I do not advocate for party dictatorship, however. That is my response on that issue.
And now that we have Kimani Omatangi with us, of course, we want to see also what is happening with the leadership in Kiambu County. Yesterday we saw that was resolved. But what is the underlying issue? Maybe we can actually go back to that story so that we can give him also a snippet of what he said yesterday. This is, of course, the row that is going on between Dr. Nyoro and also Governor Waititu from Kiambu. Let's just listen in, and then Kimani Omatangi can weigh in.
The level of integrity amongst various leaders, all the way down from the county assembly up to the office of the governor, members of parliament, the senator, the women rep and the deputy governor will be raised to impeccable level.
We are refocusing our energies and all our efforts towards delivery and development of the people of Kiambu.
Ile resolution zote tumeleta leo tumekubaliana, na ningetaka kushukuru governor kwa sababu tumekubaliana kuwa sisi kama Kiambu County Executive tutafanya kazi pamoja.
Before anybody calls the press about our disagreements, we must first discuss them and resolve them internally.
Right, we have also Matangi with us. He will tell us more about this story in Kiambu and what is the underlying issue as far as leadership is concerned in Kiambu. Let's just go back to you, Matangi. Good morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, sure. Let me also say good morning to our viewers. And yes, Debarl, we had a few issues in Kiambu, pitting the governor against the deputy governor for a while.
Yes.
And it's been going on since they went into office. It spilled over to involve the women rep and to an extent even myself, you know, on some of the questions of accountability and so on. And so it got to a point whereby I had to take the initiative. Probably I would say with a lot of humility, as probably in terms of serving at county level, yes, as the most senior politician in Kiambu right now, other than probably the president, because you know, I've served at county level for 5 years, and now this is my second term, and so I thought I'd take the initiative and call all the leaders together so that we can have that discussion on what priorities you know, will take first seat as far as leadership of the county is concerned. And so we discussed, you know, Debarl, unless at county level there is not only harmony, but there is a willingness to work together and a realization that when people work together, you are able to get more results than when each individual has his own agenda and course and pursuit. Then that way, citizens suffer, and that's the reason why we met, we discussed, and happily, and for the people of Kiambu, I would say, fortunately, that all the leaders agreed that we are going to have to work together. Of course, with the realization that that cannot be a panacea, that there would not be future issues arising, and the main spirit of the day was, can we have a dispute resolution mechanism whereby if any issues emerge, there would be dialogue first internally, even if it is just between two, for example, between the governor and the deputy governor. If it spills over, then if it's between any of the other leaders, can there be dialogue first? And then definitely, we also agreed to have a team and regular meetings as county. But let me finalize, Debarl, by saying there are actually counties in this country that have led by example. And I want to recall when Senate was first formed, a bill that was moved and actually signed into law by the president. That was the bill that was forming the county government board. Mm-hmm. And remember, that bill was shot down and defeated when governors went to court. That was one of the best platforms ever that would have been created to help counties have a dispute resolution mechanism and a mapping strategy for development in counties, because it proposed a sitting like the one we had yesterday, whereby all elected leaders, and it would have also included members of the county assembly then, and indeed I have also promised that in the next meeting I'll be calling the members of the county assembly of Kiambu together with the other leaders. That is a perfect platform whereby people are able to discuss, bring issues to the fore, and definitely resolve them. And so I want to assure the people of Kiambu this morning that now we are looking forward, and I believe that with that new spirit, we'll be able to do things in a better way and get results that the people of Kiambu desire.
But what is the underlying issue? Because yes, we're hearing about mending fences, but we do not know what is the problem.
Well, some of the underlying issues, Debarl, was that big problem that will still have to be resolved in law. And that is, what is the role of the deputy governor? And remember, we saw this problem in Machakos between in the last time between Governor Muto and Governor Kiala. It was also in Muranga between the governor and the deputy governor. And you know, what some governors have been doing, or rather what the agitation has been, that can we have defined roles for the deputy governor such that you say the deputy governor is in charge of this particular docket or department. And some counties attempted to do that. When we were having this discussion, and I think we also had this discussion with my colleagues here, Dr. Otiende Amolo, and the perception was, if you try to define a role for the deputy governor, while the constitution says that the deputy governor is the principal assistant of the governor, you are demeaning the deputy governor by telling him you can only go and deal with agriculture. Yet the law says that he is the principal assistant in all the roles that are played by the governor. And I believe that was the source first of the problem, but that has been resolved such that, you know, by understanding and acknowledging that the deputy governor is actually an assistant, then he respects that particular protocol. The governor himself also understands that. And then lastly is also on some issues of accountability, understanding at the county level, and especially by, you know, the governor and the executive, that also the law requires that when resources are sent to the county and any initiative is taken at the county level, then accountability, transparency,
Thank you,
is not an option.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's just hear from Ms. Ellie briefly, because the question will be again, what is the essence of us debating about the deputy governor's role and the governor, and this has taken a long protracted time, even from the first batch of deputy governors that we had. They've always been expressing this frustration. This came to the fore when also we've had the governors taking now, or deputy governors taking role, like what happened in Nyoro as well, and we're left with a vacant position. Still, there is a blurring line as far as the functions are concerned.
I think what happened is that as we set up the devolved units, we never really came up with any idea as to how deputy governors should function within the devolved units. But some governors have been magnanimous enough to give their deputies positions as CECs, so that you find somebody's deputy governor and CEC in charge of finance and things like that. But many of them have not, such that the deputy governor's role is very unclear, and some of them actually are doing what the president said, tangatangering all over the counties without a specific role, and that tends to get on the nerves of the governors. So I think it's something that we need to do. But that said and done, I think the law stipulates, there's a piece of the legislation that stipulates that they are supposed to set up a sort of team, a sort of consultative team, apart from the law that we had come up with, which was rejected by the courts and has never gone to full hearing and judgment. But there is a piece of legislation in there that makes them have to set up some sort of committee that is consultative. But none of the governors have done that.
Mm-hmm. None of the governors have done that. Let's also hear from Jacob Idio. Good morning.
Good morning, Debarl. Today I'm not going to apologize for being late because it's Matangi who kept talking on and on. But let me thank Matangi for taking the role to reconcile the differences in Kiambu. But I don't believe you need a law. I think an assistant to the governor is just an assistant to the governor. That should be the role of the deputy governor. However, I think the Senate, where Matangi belongs, need to do a bill that prohibits the governor from being a procurement officer, because I think that's where the problem is. It's all about theft. The deputy governor has is not partaking of this role of being a procurement officer. So I think beyond the constitution, I think there needs to be another enabling law to distance the government.
Which Wamatangi is not telling us? It seems you
Which
know...
Wamatangi is not telling you?
Exactly. It seems you're not really talking about... and Jacob Midio knows the affairs of your county than you do as far as...
I'm not only talking about Kiambu County.
I think it's general.
I'm general.
Oh, it's generalized.
I'm general, but I can tell you, you will never get to straighten the mess if we don't stop the governor, not anybody in particular, from being a procurement officer. I think that's where the problem is. You know, we have a deputy president in this country. We have a president. But why is there no lacuna when it comes to Ruto and Uhuru? There's no lacuna. It's because that position is understood. But because the counties are so small, the governors have taken it upon themselves to be the accountant, to be the procurement officer, to be the supplier, to be everything. I think that's where our focus should be. The problem is the governor, not the deputy governor. Yeah, and I think that is something we can do to properly occasion the devolution. Because I think most governors who have been cited for theft, you don't hear civil servants. It is them. It is the governor who does it. Like, if I leave here to go to Mombasa County,
thank you,
I'm going to look for the governor, not the procurement officers.
Thank you.
Because they have usurped the powers of the civil servants.
Okay. Is it a matter then of a leadership crisis that we maybe have between governors and the deputy governors when it comes maybe to delegation? Some of the governors, or we should say, that governors don't want to delegate some of their work to the deputy governors.
It shouldn't be an issue of delegation. The deputy, your deputy should be present wherever time. You don't hear of Mark Pence. He's the deputy to Trump. Everybody knows the vice president of the United States, and Trump can't fire him. What you see happening is an attempt by the governors, because of misunderstanding of the law or because of the law, the things being so new, that the governors think their deputies are subordinate to them. You know, this is an office. The office of the governor includes the deputy governor.
All right, let's hear from Otiende on this. Your perception?
I agree with Senator Wamatangi and with my friend Jacob Midio to a great extent. I don't think that it's a gap or a lapse in the law or the Constitution. The reason they are called deputy governors and not even vice governors is because they are supposed to deputize. You deputize in the absence of someone or when called upon.
Yes.
There are no contemplated independent roles that they are supposed to play when the governor is there.
Yes.
And one is supposed to understand that part of the reason why we have deputies, including deputy governors in certain contexts, is because the Constitution contemplates that election is so expensive, including election of governor, that there are circumstances under which if there's a vacancy in the office of governor, we do not want to go back for a full election. We want somebody who has a mandate by proxy because they reign with the governor, and those who elect the governor know that in the absence of the governor or in the event of a vacancy, then this person will step in. Until then, for example, one is supposed to work hand in hand with the governor. Now, if in the case of any particular county, it is decided that there's need to give the deputy governor a further specific role, there's nothing wrong with that, but that does not take away his role as the deputy. So what we need to have is a situation where the deputy governors must understand when they go into election as a running mate, that you are tied in the hip with this person. And you cannot expect to chart your own independent political path while that person is there. It is very much in the same way, if you are a deputy principal in a high school, you cannot expect that you can now start having your own policy. You know, if you are deputizing somebody, even in a committee, as long as they're there, you must toe the line. And if you don't agree, then you quit. So I think part of the problem sometimes is that there are deputy governors who, because of the geopolitical arrangements, sometimes come with a substantial quantum of votes. And when they do, they therefore think that they are coming as equals. That is a misnomer. It's a misnomer at the county level, it's a misnomer at the national level. Anybody who comes in as a deputy, no matter how many votes you bring, you must accept to deputize. And that's all there is.
Right.